So, last time we talked about The Last Love, our book. We just covered the synopsis of Act 1, Scene 1 and Scene 2. We did that because I don't have to tire you. Lessons should be enjoyable, right? Yeah, so I know that as a JS student in Kenya, or if you are a fan of reading literature and you would actually wish to read this book, The Last Love by Robinson Ocharo, then you'll be so much interested in what I'm going to share here. So, the synopsis of Act 2 is what we'll cover today. I hope you're fine and you're actually, waking up, or you've just woken up, maybe waiting for the course of the day, or it's afternoon for you. So, let's go through this text again. We are going to Act 2. Now, Act 2 starts from page 10. So I'm going to talk about what happens in this scene, starting with scene 1. I hope you've now settled. Let's go. I am teacher Mtwenje Priska, and I really love literature and Fasihi. It's something that makes me live and practice my skills. So as we start Act 2, Scene 1, it is just 3 days after Oka released The Workers. It is a morning, and we have a modern living room which is well furnished. When we talk about well furnished, it means it has everything. Talk of the sofa sets, talk of the TV, talk about the requirements in the sitting room, or living room rather. Now there is a front door that leads to the porch and a back door that leads to the kitchen. This is a modern house from the whatever we are sharing. So on the wall, we have portraits depicting slavery. Yes.
Madam, I remember that they paid also for the English study.
Are you sure I didn't give? Because the only challenge I had was Kiswahili books.
I didn't get the English, I only got a hymn book, and you're giving me right now the Kiswahili.
Did they pay 1,000?
Yes.
Maybe that I'll see, because now I didn't carry anything for English. Maybe by tomorrow. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so let's proceed with our lesson, the virtual lesson. Sorry for interruption. So we'll proceed to discuss the rest. So we are told that on the walls we have portraits displaying slavery and slave trade. Now, why do you think the author picked on this kind of setting? It's a modern living room, which is well furnished. It is a morning. Then we have the portraits depicting slavery. Does that tell us that the owner of the house adores slavery? So we'll be checking on that. Welcome on board. I can see so many people coming live. Thank you for coming live, because if I do live and without audience, then it's not worth it. Thank you, and feel free to listen to our discussion on The Last Laugh, a book that is quite interesting. If you've never read it, just grab a copy and read it. So I'm sharing a synopsis of Act 2, and I had started by sharing that it's just 3 days after Oka, the son to Orwa, released The Workers. It is a morning, and in a well-furnished modern living room, we can actually see that we have a front door that leads to the porch, and we have back door that shows the kitchen. On the walls, we have portraits of slavery and slave trade. Now, below the portraits, we have a small table with colorful flower vessels. This is the living room for Orwa, right? Orwa is an old man who owns workers, and he does not pay them very well. As you saw in Act 1, the workers were tired with the conditions in the farm. Now, when you look at this act, you see that Orwa is actually complaining. He shakes his head and complains, "Oh no, no, no. How can my son do this to me?" Remember, the son has just released the workers. Yeah, and farmers without workers, you can't make it. So he complains, indicating that this is just a child he bore yesterday, but he's done what he's done. He thinks that the son has degraded him, and the entire farm and the whole family, the clan, village, and tribe, right? I appreciate you for coming on board. Thank you. So he says that no one has ever pointed a finger at him because he's Orwa, the master of the workers on the farm. That's what he calls himself, a proud man, right? So he looks around the living room, focuses on the flower, and then the portraits. Remember the portraits represent slavery, or they symbolize that slavery. Now he says that even kings cannot dare, to speak before him. And they cannot even, the villagers cannot scratch their heads before him. Yeah? He says even some cannot, wipe the sweat on their faces when they hear him. Yeah? Because he's Orwa, a man of men, a master of masters, a boss of bosses. He says he rules his home with an iron hand. You know that idiom, what it means? So he's a dictatorial man, authoritative, and he's trying to say the son is lowering his credibility by making the workers, go free. And he swears that he will teach the son a lesson. Now he calls the daughter Tai, and of course the daughter comes in from the back door. He calls the wife Tai. Yeah, the daughter is Kola, but the wife is Tai. So he calls Tai the wife, and the wife, of course, walks in through the back door. Thank you for coming on board. So let's proceed with the discussion. Yeah, so that when the wife comes and asks why she's being called, of course, Orwa says that he needs the troublemaker. Of course, you know the troublemaker here is Oka, and you know the trouble we're talking about here. So Orwa is very furious and annoyed, and he asks whether that is their son. He thinks maybe something happened in hospital and they switched. Yeah. So he moves the flower vessels and picks them, and then, stares a bit, then returns them to the table. Yeah, the vessels do not seem to be balanced. That is a symbolic aspect that the author is trying to give us. Now, when you look at the next page, we have Kola who has come in. Yeah, and Orwa orders Kola, the daughter, to call Oka very fast. And of course, the son comes in and greets the father. And the father says, he's folding the sleeves of the shirt and he's moving towards the son. You can imagine, that means he's ready for war. Now he tells him, do you want me to forget that you are my son? For your father to tell you that the fury should be at the highest level. Now he says, I almost came to the conviction that the only way we are going to find out who is the boss in this house is by, and he raises his hand to hit Oka. But Tai, the wife, mothers how they are now. So the mother steps between them, and so, the beating does not happen. Now Orwa raises his voice so loudly. So Tai, Oka, and Kola move few steps back. Of course, you would move if it were you, right? Yeah, and he shouts, he says, I'm not going to entertain people who do not see an inch beyond their nose. That's another idiomatic expression. Those who do not, view the future. Yeah, so he says that the son should retrace his steps to the kitchen. And of course here he's not addressing the son, he's addressing Tai. He wants Tai to move away and let things be handled by himself. Yeah. Now he gives a piece of paper to Tai so that she reads. It seems Tai is not aware of what has been happening. Yeah. And he says, give me a reason why I should not be angry, So Tai reads the letter. Of course, it's a letter from Oka. The letter reads, I hope you will understand what I'm about to tell you. Please bear with me as I bring to your attention that the workers have grown impatient. They can no longer bear with the working conditions on our farm. They say they have chosen to throw away what they call the veil of ignorance. They have vowed that nothing is going to take what their sweat can bear. I fear they might turn violent, just like the other workers on the other farms. They feel they want to be free from the conditions that they have been entertaining from growers. Your loving son, Oka. Now you can see love in that later, but the decision, is what Orwa doesn't like, freeing the workers. Now Orwa asks whether Tai understands what it means without workers on the farm. And Tai does not believe what she's reading. She says she hopes it's not serious, So Orwa says, what are you talking about? Of course, there are no workers and the tea is now so much grown that it has become the jungle in Africa. You can see that exaggeration, right? So now Tai begins to address Oka and ask, why did you do that? Excuse me. And, Orwa is like, sons do not behave like that. He's sarcastic. He has turned into a disease that goes by the name Orwa's son. Right? Now, when you go to the next page, now Oka says he would wish to sit. He's such a confident boy, right? And he says, let's not shout at each other. Let's just solve the problem. And the father is so annoyed at this, and says, tell me the reason why. So asking whether he's the boss or Kola or Oka should be the boss. Now we proceed as Oka says that I have to make it clear that I've never chased away workers. Yeah, so he's saying the workers wanted to go. He did not chase them away. Now we see that Oka says, tells the father that if he did not release the workers, then it could have been a very violent aspect. You understand what the workers can do if they are tired with a place. They can even, break into houses, burn property and all that. So he says, I did that in good faith. Now, Orwa says, do you want to suggest they had been denied freedom? And of course, Oka says, of course, because these poor souls have been sweating blood, but they hardly have a morsel. You get that? An idiomatic expression again. Father, they deserve better. You see, the son is reasoning different from what the father does. And the mother is like, please, please, Oka, do not be a burden to your parents. Again, you see that idiomatic expression, a burden. When parents believe in some things like servitude, that they can mistreat workers, when a son comes and has a different thought about what to do, nobody appreciates, like the parents are used to this system. It is in them. So there's no way they can understand what the son is trying to bring, a new idea. Capitalism. So for JS students, you may not understand this level of discussion, but when people are used to mistreating others, they do not even see that they are doing so. And when someone else comes and wants to, change the way they'll treat other people, they feel like these people are wrong, right? So Orwa is listening to the son as the son tries to talk sense into him. And he's like, okay, are you a philosopher now? I hope you understand what philosophers are. So we have philosophers in past like Aristotle and so many others from Greek. So here, Orwa begins to sarcastically address the son saying, okay, so you think you are a philosopher in my home, all right. And he says, a rebellious teacher spouting out foolishness, calling the son that is. So he says, wisdom never died with Solomon. This is a sarcastic statement because he's not really appraising the son but bringing him down. Now Oka says, Father, do the workers on the farm earn their due salary? The son is questioning the father. Do they earn their salaries? Like in that farm, workers could go in the orange farms, milk the cows, do their work the entire day, but their salaries were very minimal, right? That they had to starve. Sometimes even the food they are eating was not comfortable for them. Now Orwa says, and who said they do not? He does not answer it directly. Can you see how he's evading? He's an evasive individual. Now Oka says, I feel you are wrong. And Orwa says, you are young, so you cannot understand. Why are you not getting that I give the workers a bag of maize and a bag of beans every month for 12 months? I have also built for them huts where they lay their heads. I have also employed a doctor who treats them when they are unwell. And finally, I give them used expensive clothes. Are you getting that? So they are given maize and beans every month for 12 months. Now remember, in the first act, we talked about the beans and the maize they are given, and it's rotten. Who eats rotten maize? Who eats rotten beans? And even if it were you, would you eat beans for the entire year? So that is exactly what Orwa offers these workers and does not pay them salary. So he believes that because he gives them maize and beans, that is enough. He has also given them houses that leak, leaking roofs, and he believes that is enough for the workers. He has also given them a doctor who is not actually attending to their needs. You remember in the previous act, the doctor was just asking questions and telling them, go look for food and give the kids. And remember here, Orwa now says that there is food for them. Now when we proceed, Oka tells him, the doctor, are you referring to that nephew, my cousin, who only walks inside the rusty old container, then looks at patients and asks them to eat healthier, then walk out? Orwa says, but they get food. Now Oka reminds him that, okay, the clothes you give them are all rags. The houses you give them are, leaking. Roofs are leaking. The food you give them is not balanced, Dad. No wonder kids are sickened. Now, he also asks, why can't they have social security? Why can't they have leisure, which is a higher priority, of course, like Orwa himself has it? Now, Orwa proceeds and asks, can you get to the point and tell me what you are up to? He's an irritated man, so he does not want to listen to reasoning. He just wants to, coerce the son into accepting what he thinks is right. Yeah, so we see that Oka says, Father, the workers need to be paid for them to access better medical facilities. Yeah, if somebody offers you a doctor who does not provide the proper medical care, he would rather leave you to take care of your own medical aspects. Just give you the money and you do your own, medical facilitation. Now, you look at the hospital itself, it's a trailer container that is old and rusty. Who can even heal in such a situation? It doesn't look proper for any human being. Now, Oka also tells him their welfare can motivate them to work better. Of course, when you look at the arguments of Marxism, Marx says that if the workers are motivated, then they can do the best in their farm because they have intrinsic motivation. But here we don't have the workers having that. Now let's proceed to scene 2. Scene 2 runs from page 17 to 25. Yeah, so what happens in scene 2? We can see that it's late in the evening again. It's a chilly evening. Orwa, Tai, and Kola are sitting in the living room. The sound of low music can be heard from a distance. Yeah? So, Orwa complains of the chilly evening, and Tai says the weather is unpredictable. So Orwa is finding the uncertainty in conditions a funny one. Yeah, so as we proceed, then Orwa sees that there is actually a problem. Now Kola asks, which problem do we have? So Orwa says, okay, you've chosen to be on the side of workers. Kola says, it's just about their plight. And of course, you understand their plight, they're suffering. They are suffering because they don't have balanced diet, medical attention, social security. They are also lacking better homes, right? So Orwa begins to address Kola and says he is actually ashamed in having such a daughter. And the mother is also ashamed of them. Like he thinks that such a young child does not know anything. And if they were there during the colonial time, they would have seen how they were, him and Tai suffered, treated like dogs or pigs, sitting at the back of the cars while the owners at the front. They were thrown into the backs of trailers and tractors, and they could even be locked in the boots, you know. That's what he's saying, because the African smell was not proper for the whites. Yeah, and he says that whites could sip liquor and smoke expensive cigars and go to the big hotels, and not allow Africans to pass close by, right? And he terms that oppression. Now, Kola asked, so is it that when you are oppressed, then you have to pass this over to others? Did it become a contagious disease that has to be passed over? Now, Tai wonders what has befallen the daughter. Now, Orwa wonders whether these are his kids. Tai tells the kids to run and hide, because now Orwa is storming out of the house with a lot of fury. Now Orwa, Tai now says the father should stop, you know, like he's there coming with a rod to beat them up. We see then Orwa, you know, calling them rebels, and he wants to whip them. Because he says that a donkey with a bridle and a rebel with a rod. Yeah, so according to him, the children have turned into donkeys, and he's, you know, he's supposed to whip them. Now Tai, you know, tells him that he should cool down so that they talk. Orwa comes and says, okay, he hopes that when he comes, everything will be okay. Now Oka tells the mother that he's quite sad that everything is not right. Yeah, Tai asks for the rod. Yeah, and then he takes it outside. Then he tells the mother not to return it to the bedroom. Now everybody has to sit down. That is, Tai has returned that to the bedroom, and of course she's the one that is asking them not to return it to the bedroom because she's afraid the kids will be beaten up. Now we see that after doing so, she asks the two to sit down and she wants to address them, right? Remember, she promised Orwa that everything have to calm down. Now Kola says, mother, surely no two sincere lips can pronounce that all is well, you know? The workers are not comfortable. They are sweating, but they don't have joy. What they do is to cry. So he wants them to be restored, yeah? Now Tai says, but what has that got to do with your father? So she is used to this oppression and suppression that she does not see that there is any wrong in their home. Oka says that the workers have genuine grievances that should be listened to. And she says, and Kola also says that the father has the key to unlocking the gates to the despair of the workers, right? And, you know, when they talk about the provision that they are offering, kids don't see this. So that's why Kola and Oka are saying, yes, workers, but do they have food, clothing, shelter, education, leisure, social security? So at the end of the day, Oka says that everybody needs some help. And even Lord Jesus was the master of his disciples. But the conditions under which the workers live are beyond human comprehension, right? You got the conditions. Now, on the next page, as we move to 22, Tai tries to talk to the son, tell him that workers are well protected and that their master gives them what they need, the essentials, right? Yeah, so Oka tells them that, addresses the mother, saying that nobody can fit in the worker's shoes. And if the mother thinks they are in good condition, let her, you know, allow herself for one day or two to become the worker so that she can actually see the pinch that the workers experience. Now Tai is like, oh, do not overwork yourself, son. You know, like she can just say, you know, of course, what has the condition of the workers have to do with her? Now, Oka tells the mother, this is simple, mother. How can I put it? Now, let us reason this way. Our family depends entirely on the farm, right? And you are aware that if farms do not produce fertilizer, factories, and others that produce all other farm implements, we will be forced to close down. You know, he's trying to reason with the mother. Now, Oka continues to tell the mother that the workers work so hard, yet they do not actually benefit from whatever they receive. Yeah? The farmer uses expenses indeed, but they need the extra for them to produce. Kola is like mother. Let us not take emergencies to be the sort of mystical force that chooses its victim. You know, like let's not force the workers to undergo the challenges they are going through, yet we can, serve them. Now, Oka also says, think like father and say that you give these laborers free clothes, food, and shelter. It's like he's questioning the mother whether the mother thinks the same way Orwa thinks. Now we find Kola says, mother, these are nothing other than necessities, Kola wants the mother to get the gist of the reality, that whatever that is provided are just necessities, and that's not enough for human beings. As we get to page 24, now we see Tai saying, brothers and sisters, really, Oka? Then Oka says, yes, mother, they are. It is they that have made what we have possible. So Oka is saying that the workers are the ones who have made their conditions comfortable. So with that being human race and the expansive land, the vast expansive land, then they should have access to medical facility, they should have access to better food, their children should have education for a better future. Tai is like, but what can we do, my son? We are equally fighting it out through this poverty. You see, when you look at the rich people, you think they are up there. But when they talk to you, they want to make their situation so poor that you can sympathize with them. Now, Oka says we are not fighting our ways through poverty like the workers, right? We are the army. They are in war. The officers will only stand behind and keep shouting, fire, seize. So Oka tries to bring the aspect that Orwa and Tai are like the army, plus the entire family. The workers are the ones being shot at. So here Orwa and Tai are there to order fire, seize, fire. Yeah, on the front line, there are now these workers who are working there, but they are hungry and wounded because they are not rewarded, right? So they indicate clearly that it is necessary that Tai and Orwa gets the cry of the workers. Now, as we end on page 25, what do we see? Tai says, you talk like that, but do not include me when your father is back. Yeah, so Tai is rejecting whatever suggestions they have offered and warns them that it's very important that now they keep quiet about whatever is happening on the farm. And in fact, they should follow what Ami does. Ami is the elder son, and the elder son who has inherited the despotic aspects of servitude, so they treat workers as they would wish, They give the poor conditions to the workers, and Ami is okay with that. So the mother tries to advise the two that they should not actually sympathize with the workers. Instead, they should just adhere to what the culture in Orwa's home has been. The suppressive, oppressive culture should continue. So that's our discussion for Act 2. It is actually longer than Act 1, but I hope you've captured what is necessary. And if you've not read The Last Laugh, go and read it. And you will actually see where the last laugh comes as we end this text. And it's an interesting one, looking at the cover, just appetizing as it is. And the story is the reality. When you read literature, you have to see the society again. Look at the society and what happens. Look at how we have bosses who create servitude situations. Look at how maybe whatever ideas they're offering, they just think that it's the best. So they believe that is what is the suitable situation for the workers, yet they have proper, offerings, not necessities, as we can see in Orwa's situation. He has the modern living room. He has different meals offered. He has social security. His kids are having better education. But what does he offer the workers? Very poor homes, leaking roofs, yeah, a rusty container for hospital. His nephew, nephew who does not have proper medical knowledge, then the conditions generally are more oppressive. Like they work in a very big farm, they have to milk, but when it comes to pay, they do not receive their pay. So you can see why Oka and Kola were offering freedom for these workers. So we have had a lesson of 31 minutes. I hope if you go back to your text, you will understand as you look through what we've discussed. In case you have questions, you're free to ask. On the comment sections, I'm free to check on what you've shared and I'll respond to it. Bye-bye for now.